story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
A very good evening to you, and time once again to welcome you to CoreTV Primetime News. My name is Christian Ogodo. Thanks for joining us on this auspicious occasion of Nigeria's celebration of Democracy Day and also the first year anniversary of President Muhammadu Buhari's led APC administration. First, we'll bring you the top stories. Thanks for staying with us, and now the details of the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has been speaking on the gains of his administration 1 year since assuming office. In a radio and television broadcast to Nigerians, the president reiterates his commitment to the ideals of democracy and deepening its institutions. As regards revving up the economy, the president regrets the increase in price of petroleum motor spirit and the foreign exchange policies. He believes the policies will help in the sustainability of the economy.
The economic misfortune we are experiencing in the shape of very low oil prices has provided us with an opportunity to restructure our economy and diversify. We are in the process of promoting agriculture, livestock, exploiting our solid mineral resources, and expanding our industrial and manufacturing base. I support the monetary authority's decision to ensure alignment between monetary policy and fiscal policy. We shall keep a close look on how the recent measures affect the naira and the economy. But we cannot get away from the fact that a strong currency is predicated on a strong economy, and a strong economy presupposes an industrial productive base and a steady export market.
The president further assures of self-sufficiency in the production of locally made rice and aims at boosting the export market. With the state of bombings in the Niger Delta region, the president wants militants and vandals to desist from such act or else risk being apprehended and punished.
I believe the way forward is to take a sustainable approach to address the issues that affect the Niger Delta communities. Re-engineering the amnesty programs is an example of this. The recent spate of attacks by militants disrupting oil and power installations will not distract us from engaging leaders in the region in addressing Niger Delta problems. If the militants and the vandals are testing our resolve, they are much mistaken. We shall apprehend the perpetrators and their sponsors and bring them to justice.
That's President Muhammadu Buhari, the President of Nigeria and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, during his nationwide radio and television broadcast on the first year anniversary of his administrations. And more reactions have continued to trail the performance of President Muhammadu Buhari since assuming office in May last year. Full deregulation of the downstream sector, treasury single account and merger of federal ministries, and some of the significant policies of the current administration. State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole in this special report examines the performance of President Muhammadu Buhari's led administration in the last 365 days. His report.
Assuming office on May 29th last year, after the fourth attempt, President Muhammadu Buhari was quick to spell out the agenda of his administration immediately after the inauguration. Merging of the federal ministries and the introduction of the single treasury account are some of the first decisions taken by the President Buhari administration. Afterwards, the president ordered the release of a bailout fund to enable state government pay the backlog of civil servants' salaries. Another major feature of the current administration is the prosecution of those fingered in the alleged $2 billion arms deal coupled with Nnamdi Kanu, who is agitating for the secession of Republic of Biafra. Sustaining the war against the insurgents is another result of the President Buhari-led administration. The safe rescue of Amina Ali, one of the abducted over 200 Chibok school girls, according to the presidency, is a clear indication of the success in the war against terror.
Rest assured that this administration will continue to do all it can to rescue the remaining Chibok girls who are still in Boko Haram's captivity. Amina's rescue gives us new hope.
But as government claims success over the Boko Haram insurgents, activities of the X-Men and the Niger Delta Avengers pose security threats in parts of the country. The eventual signing of the 2016 budget on May 6th by President Buhari ended the crisis surrounding the physical document. The price modulation approach of the current administration in the downstream sector of the oil industry led to issues surrounding the petrol subsidy, thus increasing the pump price of petrol from 87 to 145 naira.
The meeting reviewed the current fuel scarcity and supply difficulties in the country, the exorbitant prices being paid by Nigerians for the product, and these prices currently range on the average from 150 naira to about 250 naira per litre countrywide.
But according to government, palliatives that will cushion the effect of the hike is already in the 2016 budget. As the Buhari of Shimbajo administration commences its second year in office, analysts are calling on government to pay more attention to the economy as a way of liberating Nigerians from the current economic challenges. Abiola Oluwole, CoreTV News, Abuja.
With the Buhari administration in office for a year now and the major issues plaguing the country being that of infrastructure and provision of power, many believe that the federal government has not done enough in that sector. Our correspondent Kazim Kasali in this report takes a look at the situation in the sector 1 year on. His report.
When the Buhari administration was sworn into office on the 29th of May 2015, many Nigerians had high hopes for the development and recovery of the nation's lost glory, especially as it regards infrastructure. And these hopes rose further with the announcement of former Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola as Power Works and Housing Minister. But since then, a lot has happened, with many stakeholders in the sector saying that a lot still needs to be done to ensure that the sector moves forward.
When you look at the investment that we need to make vis-a-vis what we get, and let me also tell you that anytime you don't have light, it is not in our interest as distributors. Because if you don't give you light, we can't get money from you. And for us, when you don't see light, it is not in our hand.
While the power sector seems to be problematic for the government to address, with various issues such as vandalism of installations daily affecting power generation in 25 of the nation's 28 power plants, who are gas. But according to the Minister of Power Works and Housing, the federal government is working to diversify the nation's energy mix with renewable energy and more hydropower thrown into the mix.
Very early stages of Nigeria's power production also has very deep Canadian roots, I believe, with the designs of Kainji power plant.
Despite the challenges bedeviling the sector, the federal government has resolved a lot of thorny issues such as court cases, stalling power projects, and the resumption of construction at the Zungeru hydropower plant, and also reached the nation's highest ever distributed power of over 5,000 megawatts in February 2016. But according to unions in the sector, challenges remain. For the road and housing sector, construction companies await the release of the 350 billion naira earmarked for projects. Those in the sector say it will help in providing employment and help in reviving the ailing construction sector.
All projects that road construction projects that has been abandoned because of paucity of funds will all be returned to sites. We have also agreed to, in inspection of payment, the contractors will also go back to site, re-engage all workers that they have laid up.
The minister has reassured us about the budgetary provisions which we have been seeing in the news. The ministry has assured us also that they are now ready for disbursements of several amounts.
Now that the ministry is very much alive and alert to its responsibility, we contractors also should join hands with them.
We will go ahead back to site, and we will see what is missing and what is, and we will improve. And we start from fresh-minded on quality and safety, and that will be our target.
While the three may not have performed to its required and expected optimum level due to challenges, many are of the opinion that a law out of the public eye that is changing the way things are done and will ultimately make the next few years a cheering one for all Nigerians. Kazim Kasale, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And let's look at the economic issues and policies under this administration 1 year in office. And President Muhammadu Buhari assumed office a year ago with a set objective to resuscitate the economy, improve security, and wage war against corruption. However, policy formulation committed to economic diversification through import substitution and export promotion to build resilience in the Nigerian economy following the global fall in crude oil prices still remains subject that experts show growing concerns about. In this report, Akin Obakeye takes a look at the Buhari-led administration's policies focused at improving the socio-economic well-being of Nigerians. His report.
The state of Nigeria's economy is a source of concern for many. This has been further worsened by the unbridled corruption and security challenges faced in the last few years. Nigeria is believed to be going through a storm economically, with inflation rate hitting 13.7% in May. The Naira has continued its unprecedented free fall in value against the US dollar, trading at over 300 Naira to US dollar on the parallel market, but remains pegged at 197 Naira to a dollar in the official market. The Minister of Finance developed strategies at blocking wastes through fiscal discipline and control, widening the tax nets and diversifying the economy. The implementation of the Treasury single account has led to the recovery of over 4.2 billion Naira in the ongoing war against corruption.
Knowing that there's a risk that what I'm doing may be looked at is something that will modify behavior, and that's the whole purpose of internal audit and control. It strengthens the control. It makes people more accountable.
Economic analysts said the Nigerian economy could rise to $6.4 trillion by 2015 with policies and programs aimed at diversifying the economy from overdependence on crude oil, as the removal of petrol subsidy hinges on insufficient foreign exchange earnings.
$550 million. And we needed just about that much again to import PMS. So if we continue along that line, we'll get to a point where we'll be completely broke. That was why this policy became absolutely necessary and we have no option.
It is even more painful for me that a major producer of crude oil with 4 refineries that once exported refined product is today having to import all of its domestic needs.
The main reason for this new price regime is that the country does not have enough foreign exchange to open letters of credit for all those who want to import.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has vowed to evolve additional measures to boost the Nigerian economy and stabilize the naira. But economists believe the CBN is not doing enough.
Banks don't lend money. So while the CBN is promoting itself as the agent of change, the agent of growth in the economy, in reality, their actions do not suggest that.
The infrastructure development, agriculture and manufacturing are the real sectors that Buhari administration is targeting to stimulate the economy and to reverse the economic recession inherited from previous administration.
The labor-intensive farming enterprise will boost the economy and ensure inclusive growth in long-neglected communities.
With policies aimed at improving the economy, the federal government, on the stand of change, is expected to build a sustainable communication model that will carry the people along. Akin Obakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
All right, I'm now being joined by a legal practitioner and a socio-economic rights activist, Ahmed Abbas, on Primetime News. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm sure you must have perused Mr. President's submissions on his nationwide radio and television broadcast. What do you make of his speech highlighting his 1 year in office?
Thank you. I think as a stakeholder in this enterprise called Nigeria, I expect so much from the president because he came on a mantra of change. There was so much expectations, from the people of Nigeria. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not too pleased with the speech and where we are actually today, because a lot of people were actually expecting this administration to hit the ground running, considering the fact that the man who actually head that administration had attempted 4 times consecutively to contest for the presidency of this nation, and for the 4th time, that was almost a span of about 12 years. So I was expecting that even after the election, I was expecting a roadmap to be ready so that they can hit the ground running. But we discovered that it took them quite a long time before they could even,
evaluate and enunciate
and even
issues.
Put the cabinets in place. And even at that, the policy trust of the government has actually not shown that there's a clear-cut focus. I admit there were challenges, but when you are coming to assume the position of the chief executive officer of a state, it is assumed that you have actually studied the problem and you have a clear-cut focus of what you need to do.
Particularly at the time when crude oil prices had fallen, before he assumed duties, fallen far below $40 a barrel, I think about $30 a barrel and the rest. Yes. So he should have known, the compass of the, but a lot of people would still not find anything to really jubilate about in the speech beyond the security of the nation. More in the northeast, the Avengers have raised their heads, and there was a major absence. As observers are saying, the president never mentioned the horrendous killings by the Fulani herdsmen all over the country. Is that an omission or a commission?
I think it's a minus on the managers of the president, because they should know that that issue is an issue that concerns some segment of the north central, the southeast, the southwest.
Even the northwest.
Even the northwest. So it is the managers. I will put the blame at the doorstep of the managers. If they didn't bring it to the attention of the president that he ought to address the nation on such issues, that would be, I think, a minus on their part. And if also on the part of the president he deliberately omitted to make a pronouncement on such, that will also be a minus on his part, because he is a president over the entire Republic of Nigeria. And so whatever affects any part, it should show some measure of concern.
Let's look at the judiciary. Would you say 1 year into the president's governance of this country, the executive and the judiciary have really worked in tandem in terms of, you know, strengthening institutions around, you know, the judiciary, you know, getting convictions against culprits, particularly the anti-corruption war?
I have had opportunity several times on several fora to mention the fact that, you know, the war against corruption, the legal profession also has a role to play. Because if you are a keen observer of what obtains in the judiciary, most times we blame the judiciary, but you must understand the science of law. Like, for example, it's strike law that a judge is under obligation to hear every application, no matter how frivolous the application is a law binding the judge. So it means if I'm a frivolous lawyer and I bring 30 applications to stall proceeding, the judge has no obligation. Duty bound. If he refuses to hear me,
they go to higher courts.
I will appeal it. So the judge the judge's hand is actually tied by the position of the law. And there are some lawyers, like I said, senior members of this profession are actually not helping this society. Because let me tell you, why would a governor who ends in his entire 8-year period, probably his entire emoluments, it's not up to 80 million naira, will employ the services of 10, 20, 50 senior advocates to defend him on a bill of about 250 million naira? We should have a moral question, a moral conscience to ask, why are you using 250 million naira to defend an office that in your entire emolument for 8 years wasn't even up to about 80 million? If you have not done anything, accumulated money there, why will you be defending whatever criminal charge they have against you with almost about 250 million? And those lawyers do not see anything wrong. They exploit the loopholes in the law to elongate trial, bog down the system, and make sure that somebody who is standing a criminal trial for the next 10, 12 years, instead at the end of the day, the system will be such that the judge won't be able to make head or tail out of it and end up the matter being struck out. So we must appeal to the senior members of the bar that they must have a conscience, because we were told in our legal training that we are supposed to be social engineers. It's not just about money. We should do what will enable the society to grow and to progress, not retarding it.
And is this progress being seen, you know, in the judiciary, nay, the government of the day, particularly when it comes to obeying human rights, fundamental human rights issues, like, you know, unlawful detentions? The courts have had several courses to berate the government through its agencies for illegal detentions and things like that. Isn't that a minor or something?
You know, we run a lopsided system in this country where people play politics with their position. They want to be in the good book of the government, and they think by what they need to do to be in the good book of the government is to violate the rights of other persons, just to show the government that we are actually carrying out this. But we must realize that when you do not govern a society according to the rule of law, what you have is an animal kingdom. And that is where the legal profession must rise up to ensure that in such circumstances, those agencies violating the rights of Nigerians are taken up. But you know, one of the challenges we have is that getting judgment even against government is very difficult. And even when you get the judgment against the government, to execute the judgment is another different ball game entirely. So it's a challenging situation that we must continue to fine tune to be able to get, you know, the best.
All right. Let us look at other specific areas. We've seen in our reports, you know, on the economy, on infrastructural development and the rest, what some Nigerians have been saying, their expectations have not been met. It's hope dashed and the rest. In the areas of energy, for example, the fight against insurgency, we said to a large extent, particularly in the northeast, the Boko Haram, is being technically defeated. Education, health, and the rest. Where would you, place the government on the scorecard?
Over the years, I think this is my approach in extracting the performances of our government. I think government, sometimes administrations come thinking they have solution to all societal problems. The honest truth is that no single administration, even if you give an administration 50 years, you can't solve all societal problems. Before you came in, there were problems. In your tenure, there will be problems. And after your administration is over, there will be problems. What an intelligent man, family, organization, society, and nation does at every specific time is to prioritize, because resources are scarce, limited. You don't have abundant resources to solve all problems. So you prioritize. For now, the truth remains that our infrastructure economy is in a state of comatose. The honest truth is that I don't care how you want to diversify this economy to, whether you want people to go into agriculture. The question I'm going to ask you, if we must produce, do you have the resources to process and package and store?
Or export.
Without power, it's not possible. If you ask people to go into agriculture, they will go into agriculture, they must produce cassava. And the cassavas will rotting. There is no power to convert cassava into gari to preserve. You need power. So the first thing that this government needs to do is to look at Nigerians and tell them the honest truth. Within 4 years, we can't solve all your problems, but let us take out the most critical. If you want to declare a state of emergency, because honestly, you can't industrialize, you can't progress, you can't advance, you can't move goods and stuff. Let's even assume that you want to go into rail. What are you going to use in driving those rail? Are you going to use charcoal to drive rail in this 24th century when other nations are using electricity to move goods and services? So you need to tell Nigerians that, let me devote, even if this administration will be known just for one thing, that it came and tackled the issue of power only, and just maintain the other facilities, because the honest truth is that now you spend 4 years, you are trying to manage everything, and at the end of the day, we are neither here, we are neither there. Health, we don't have hospitals. Educational facilities in a state of comatose. Agricultural in a state of comatose. Power in a state of comatose. At the end of the day, we'll be back to square one. So they need to prioritize and tell Nigerians, I can't solve all the problems. Let me address the issue of power. Let us harness the totality of our expertise, our energy, our intellect, science and technology. Address this issue of power, because to me, it's becoming so mysterious. But it is not as if it's a mysterious problem. It's just that we have actually not sat down as a nation to say this is an endemic problem, and we need to bring the best heads in this nation to tackle this problem once and for all. The only thing is, all man-made problems can be solved by man. Every problem generated by man will be solved by man. And I do not think the problem of this country called Nigeria is outside the shores of it. They are talented. I have so much confidence in this enterprise called Nigeria, that we have talented people, that if they have opportunity of giving advice to this government, most of the problems that we have in this nation will overnight evaporate.
And yet Nigeria still is grappling with the issue of almost zero foreign exchange backing and the rest, and it's like that subsector of the finance of the financial sector, is in a free fall with the recent CBN policy now.
Because we do not.
You're having about 4 markets.
It's because we do not have the opportunity for Nigerians. Look, if you interrogate through all media, whether electronic, whether the print media, the academia, in seminars and in conferences, you're listening to the brilliance of so many Nigerians. We have professors, intelligent, talented people that if they have the opportunity of giving advice, not political advice now, to the government, and the government is serious and has the political will to listen to those advice and implement it, this country will be in a state of comatose. But most times, like what happened, a lot of people were actually expecting an array of technocrats, core technocrats, people who do not have political leanings at all. But at the end of the day, the ministerial appointment were somehow distributed to the boys to just placate them because they brought the government into power. But the honest truth is that there are far better, more intelligent Nigerians outside who are not within the political corridors, who are brilliant enough that if they are given the opportunity, they will run this economy and run it in an excellent manner.
So, if you have to make, finally, if you got to make a projection for another 1 year for this government by the second year, what really should we be seeing in place, you know, so that Nigerians...
They have good intentions, but unfortunately, you can have good intention and goodwill. That does not translate to reality. And one other challenge that I also see in this government is that communication is key in leadership. If you are going through a challenge and you do not have the ability to explain in simple English for the ordinary man that you are leading to understand the challenge and how to brace up for that challenge, is a problem on its own. Because most times it's like there's this gap between the government and the governed. Nobody seems to be understanding what is actually going on, and it's a science. The ability to communicate exactly where you are going, the challenges you are going through, and how long it will take you to translate your policies into reality, so that psychologically and emotionally people can, you know, be prepared, develop a shock absorber to say, okay, the journey is going to take us to 12 months, it's going to take us 24 months. But when people do not even know what to expect, it creates another problem in the society. I think for me, as a Nigerian, I expect a more aggressive approach, a more dramatic approach that will inspire confidence. I tell people analogically, I say, look, when a man is dying on a sick bed, maybe from a fatal accident, the body language of the doctor will either inspire him to ask God, sustain me because my doctors are doing the best to keep me alive, or it's going to inspire him to pray to God to say, God, the pain is too much, let me die and escape this pain. The body language of the administration should be more aggressive and more dramatic. They should go to the street and engage Nigerians. Let us know what is happening so that they can inspire confidence. Leadership, one of the first functions of leadership, I tell people, is inspiration. It's not having solution to all the problems. The capacity to inspire hope in people even when they are face to face with the Red Sea. Telling them that with the talents around us, we will cross this Red Sea. If you are unable to inspire people when there is a challenge, there's a fault in your leadership style.
Thank you very much. Ahmed Abbas is a legal practitioner and socioeconomic rights activist for joining us on Prime Time to x-ray the president's 1 year anniversary. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll still be looking how the president is raising or dashing the hopes of millions of Nigerians. Join us again after the break.
VAT, Value Added Tax, is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government, is used for funding development. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure, like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make your contributions to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
You're welcome back, and if you're just joining us, you've been watching CoreTV News primetime news, rather, and the top stories once again. You can watch these and more of our stories on the following social media platforms: on facebook.com/CoreTV News, tweet us at CoreTV News NG, and watch us on youtube.com/CoreTV Liverspace News. And we'll continue with the rest of the bulletin now. President Muhammadu Buhari has failed to name the looters whose monies were recovered from the president, from those accused or who are facing trials in the court. Attending the anti-corruption summit organized by British Prime Minister David Cameron, he promised to disclose the figure in his Democracy Day address to the nation. But in his nationwide address today to mark his 1 year in office, President Muhammadu Buhari failed to disclose the figure as promised. Rather, the president promised Nigerians that the Ministry of Information and Culture will be publishing the details, which he said will be updated periodically. He further states that when for future formalities are completed, the monies will be put in the nation's treasury and be spent transparently in line with for developmental projects. Also, the president has set aside 1.6 billion naira for women empowerment. He announced this during his broadcast to the nation to mark his first year in office, and also used the opportunity to appreciate the increasing role women play in revitalizing the agricultural sector. The fund will be released as microfinance loans to women across the nation to assist in rehabilitating the economies of rural communities, particularly those impacted negatively by insurgency and conflict. The president, however, expressed regret that for too long Nigeria has been a society that neglected the poor and victimized the weak. Also, the president has been speaking at the activities of illegal miners in the country, saying that special security team had been set up to check the menace. The president says the security team is saddled with the task of protecting the nation's mining assets. He also revealed special measures would be in place to protect miners in their work environment. According to him, the Ministry of Solid Mineral Resources has produced a roadmap where Nigeria would work closely with the World Bank and major international investors to ensure best practices and due diligence in the mining sector. And as the Democracy Day is being observed and winding up across the country, CoreTV correspondent in Ekiti went round the state capital to get the opinion of residents on President Buhari's first year in office as a civilian president. A clergy and a provider of transport services were the first set of people to bear their minds.
People are dying, crying for hunger. Electricity, see now, NEPA tariff plan increasing. There is no money. Some states are complaining that they are not paying them salary. So fuel price now everybody can see.
At transitions like this, there is always some inertia. You understand me? A country goes in perpetuity. So if there are challenges for some time, all the duty that everybody owes is to support the government so we can overcome the challenges.
Ordinarily, this present government is trying to build a laudable economy that can sustain everybody. And in terms of, the period of the structuring and restructuring, So it's bound, this hardship is bound to happen, and it's a temporary hardship.
The intentions were big, the expectations were huge. As to how largely those expectations have been met, I would rather leave that to Nigerians.
Furthermore, an All Progressives Congress party stalwart alongside the Commissioner for Information in Ekiti State also gave their own perspective on the state of the nation.
Ordinarily, this present government is trying to build a laudable economy that can sustain everybody. And in terms of, the period of the structuring and restructuring, so it's bound, this hardship is bound to happen, and it's a temporary hardship.
The intentions were big, the expectations were huge. As to how largely those expectations have been met, I would rather leave that to Nigeria.
Of the Nigerian Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki has commended Nigerians for working to sustain democracy in the past 17 years, despite the various challenges the country has encountered within the period. In a statement to mark this year's Democracy Day, signed on his behalf by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Yusuf Olaniyonu, Saraki described democracy as not only the most globally accepted system of government, but also the best solution to the problems confronting multicultural, multilingual, and multi-religious societies in Nigeria. He said in the last 17 years, the electorate has become more discerning and sophisticated as the nation has got to the point that people elected to the various offices are now conscious of the fact that they are under constant watch, and when they fail to meet the expectations of the voters, they'll be given the red card. The Senate President further calls on elected and appointed officials at all levels of government to continue to justify the confidence people reposed in them. Okay, we'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll be taking stories on the foreign scene outside Nigeria, where died in a fire at a building housing elderly people in Ukraine's capital city. Join us again.
CoreTV News now live on all Androids.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
Download CoreTV News app from your Play Store. Click on the menu to see all our top stories from politics, sports, business, foreign news, and live TV to watch us live on your mobile.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
You can also click on video to see all our YouTube videos. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
You know, Angela, that's a very difficult question.
It is difficult to respond to that question.
Angela, that's a great question.
Great question, Angela.
Angela, that is a very great question.
That's a great question, Angela.
Okay, that's a great question.
Yeah, very good question.
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
That's an interesting question.
This is an interesting question you pose.
60 Minutes with Angela. Gain answers to every question you always wanted to ask.
You're welcome back. And 17 people have died in a fire at a building housing elderly people in a village near Ukraine's capital, Kiev. The fire broke out in the early hours of Sunday in a two-story building housing some 35 people. Emergency services unit saved 18 people, 5 of whom have been hospitalized with burns of varying degrees of severity. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian police have detained the man in charge of the building because security officials believe the house is being used to house the elderly people illegally. Prime Minister Vladimir Groisman described the fire as a terrible tragedy that has caused irreparable loss and said the government offers sincere condolences to the victims' families. And we'll just quickly take a sports story now where Real Madrid captain Sergio Ramos paid tribute to coach Zinedine Zidane's inspirational qualities after the Spanish Giants were crowned kings of Europe for the 11th time on Saturday. Real claimed their second Champions League trophy in 3 years, thanks to a 5-3 penalty shootout victory over Atletico Madrid at Milan San Siro. After the match, it finished 1-1 at extra time. All of Real's players kept their composure to beat opposition goalkeeper Jan Oblak from the spot. And when Atletico favourite Juan Fran saw his effort come back off the post, Cristiano Ronaldo stepped up and hit the winner. Ramos has been one of the stars of Real's latest 2 triumphs, having scored a late equalizer that pushed the 2014 final into extra time before netting the opener in Saturday's game. And well, that's how it's been on CoreTV Primetime News. But before we go, here's a recap of our top stories. Thanks for watching. My name is Christian Ogodo. Remember to join us at midnight for midnight updates. From me and every crew member here, it's bye-bye.